Drive slow, homie.
I understand, but I thought we were like gonna cook the things like a group thing.
It's already cooked this thing. So
Well,
we just gotta
whatever, prepare it. I don't care what you want to call it. Turn
Yo,
it
yo,
into the
yo, so
complete
as you
dish.
guys can tell, this is Louis Daily, and this is Daily Dose, your third episode, where I'm here with Alex, and I got my boy Malick in the back, being a fucking fool like we normally do. So, as you can tell with my poor production quality in my iPhone, I am trying to have more vivid conversations with individuals over subject matter that matters. So, with that being said, today the topic of discussion is people and their ideologies and beliefs behind the National Anthem and them complaining or supporting people who happen to protest during the National Anthem. Before I jump into what my thoughts are on it, I wanted to take these two intelligent individuals, or as we like to say, Alex, and fuck around with Malick. He's in the back like, fuck this nigga. But like, what's your opinions on the matter, man? I'll say I'm Alex, man. Share something.
You want me to go first?
Is this a PG-13 show?
No, man, no.
He
no.
just dropped it. He just dropped it.
Yeah, no, man, no. This is you say whatever the hell you want to say, man.
Great. Because I want to be myself. First of all, I like to say fuck Donald Trump, sincerely from the bottom of my heart. What I think about the anthem protest, I mean, I don't know. I kind of have a nuanced opinion on that, right? Because we all understand. I mean, a lot of people get on the internet and they ask questions they already know the answers to. We all know that it's protected speech. Anybody in these United States of America have and should be allowed to protest however they want to, so long as it's not violent. But I tend to also understand.
I'd like to add a qualifier to that, though.
Right.
Is one thing that people don't understand about that freedom of speech is, as you and I know, as attorneys,
Right.
that it's protected speech from the government. It's not
Right.
protected speech from private employers.
Sure.
And there could be an argument made, I'm not saying this is my opinion, but there could be an argument made that making the protest during game day is part of your, could be construed as making a statement during your work, as part of your work that relates to your work.
Right.
So there's where you could get some arguments and some legally sound pushback, potentially, from owners who don't want their players to protest. And that would include somebody like Jerry Jones.
Of course.
But that said,
right, the kind of argument to that would be, well, you know, it's the owners that installed that entire, you know, process to begin with. I mean, they're getting it came out, I think, in the news recently that the Department of Defense and National Guards have been playing the NFL millions of dollars.
yeah, since
to
roughly
stage,
2009.
to stage the anthem before the games are played.
Right.
So, you know, the owners have a conundrum there, right? Because if you install that, you are opening yourself up to someone to protest, you know, the national anthem, I feel. Right? It's not part of the game.
Potentially,
It's
but it
certainly-
depends what, if it's within the scope of employment. Right now, you're talking about they're fulfilling a contractual obligation
Right, but
on
I
behalf of
don't-
the NFL.
Right. It's a contractual obligation, you know, with regards
To
to
be
the
there.
NFL, but are the players
Right. So the
contractually
question.
obligated to stand for the anthem?
So the question from a legal perspective would be, is it within their rights to make this protest at that time, or do they have an obligation contractually to maintain a certain posture or a certain reverence for the ceremonial playing of the national anthem?
I think it's the latter.
I don't know that there's necessarily a right or wrong way to answer that question. I'm not going to get into that question because I think that's kind of beyond what we're trying to talk about here, but I wanted to throw that out.
Right.
And I think it's good to touch on because I think a lot of people overlook that, the legal aspect and how much that can actually influence a player's decision on what they may or may not do, based on what their owner tells them.
Right. And here's my take on you know, my quote unquote nuanced take on this. I get it. Like, I get why there's so much emotion and verve on both sides, right? You know, so it just depends on how you look at the flag. Some people, when they look at the flag, you know, they see, they see a symbol. They see, you know, the symbol that makes men and women enlist in the military and go out into the world and fight for America's interests. Whether that, you know, includes our freedom is another, you know, totally different issue. Like, subscribe to that thought that people are actually going out there to protect our freedom. No, they're going out there to protect our interests, but that's neither here nor there. I don't want to really have a conversation about propaganda, even though we kind of are to a degree.
Yeah.
But I think people look at the flag differently, right? And I don't think that just because you think about your wounded soldiers, wounded veterans, you think about the sacrifices that are being made on a daily basis by people who enlist. I don't think looking at having that perspective necessarily negates the fact that there are other people in this country who look at that same flag and see a broken promise, right? And I think people just need to be able to listen to one another and try to understand, each side's perspective, because each side's perspective is valid, right? The issue is the discourse. The discourse tends to, turn really volatile and angry, and turn to name calling. I mean, I was doing some of this name calling on Facebook the other day until I decided, this is kind of stupid. Like, I don't want to engage these people because we're not having a discussion. We're just insulting each other over our differences.
Yeah.
And that's just not a very productive use of my time.
Yeah.
Or anyone's for that matter. So that's my take on it. I think we should all be able to coexist despite our differences. And we shouldn't be mad at each other for exercising our own rights or having our own opinion. Like, you can't be mad at somebody for having an opinion. I don't think you can. Like, it's an opinion. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. And I think that's where we tend to stray from the real discussion we should be having, which is how do we mend our differences? How do we come together despite the fact that, when we stand there and look at this flag and hear this anthem, based on whatever path our life has taken us thus far, we see something different. We see, we all live in the same building, but we got different views, like Drake said. That's just what it is, man.
This dude just fucking dropped a Drake quote in the middle of this conversation, man. So Alex, what's on your mind, brother?
Well, I've got a subtle disagreement and a lot of agreement with what he just said. I think the overarching point is it's dialogue, it's communication, and respect for another's view. I do think you can be angry at somebody's opinion. I don't think that you can tell people how to react to somebody's opinion. What in terms of their feelings and their thoughts of the opinion. That's one of the beauties of the First Amendment, is if you have an opinion I don't like, I can tell you, fuck you, that it's a stupid ass opinion. I shouldn't do it in that way. But I can have that reaction. That's a perfectly valid perspective. But it goes back to your first point. It's how do you then engage in that with that person who is different. It's how do you channel your energies. It's how do you use them in making it a productive discussion instead of making it a divisive one. Like, unfortunately, our president is leading the charge of division, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
It's an absolute shame.
Yeah.
In that respect, there have been a lot of people who hold out what happened on Sunday with so many more players and even some owners joining in this protest. And
there's blenders and bowls over here, by the way, if you want to. Maybe we can go to Kebab, just grab the food and then come back by here.
Let's do it.
Okay.
And there have been a lot of opinions that I've seen where people are criticizing those late joiners in this protest.
Right.
People treating it as though it's wrong to protest Trump because now it's usurping the Black Lives Matter perspective that Colin Kaepernick was championing initially. There are people who hold it out as hypocritical and say that this whole thing is now becoming an action against Trump.
Yeah.
And in that respect, I think a couple things there that I'd say is that Trump is actually part of the problem that the BLM movement is seeking to solve. And in that respect, I want the protest against Trump. I want it. And somebody joining in a protest later than others because now it became personal. Why is that inherently wrong? Why is that hypocritical or not valid because they didn't initially kneel before Trump said anything? And I think the answer to that question is, well, are you trying to take possession of this protest, of this means of protest, or are you encouraging others to use it for something that is a mutually beneficial cause? And I think in this case, those protesting Trump are joining in appropriately. I think this is to the benefit of Black Lives Matter because Trump was an instant, right? This was an isolated comment. I mean, in context, he said many other similar things, so that's not what I mean by isolated. But the response that followed was immediate and was unity against him lambasting those who were protesting from a Black Lives Matter perspective.
Yeah.
And it was the NFL coming back and saying, well, look, we may not have sponsored or agreed with or taken, steps to add to what Kaepernick did. And there are a lot of valid opinions that he's been
ostracized.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get too far into those, but circling back, I think to now respond to Trump is an immediate and temporary response, and that the Black Lives Matter, what was the phrase you used earlier, that the flag represents a broken promise?
Yeah.
That's what that perspective is.
Yeah.
And I think that's really well said. And I think that's going to be the protest that continues. And I think
hope
and I think continued kneeling after this weekend will be that continuing. And now we've seen that if you come after those who are engaging in that protest in a disrespectful way, the NFL and its players and its owners, by and large, aren't going to stand for that. And I think there's some positive to take there.
So at this point, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to walk off. We're getting us some lunch real quick because this is a quick lunch break for us. But we're going to hop back in and we're going to continue discussion in a bit. So thank you for following Daily Dose. We'll be hollering at you in a bit. Peace.
Drive slow, homie.